Hi, it's Sarah Bakri, and you are watching She's All That, the online show that celebrates, inspires, and empowers women. Are you writing a book, or are you a content creator that writes blog posts or captions? Do you struggle with coming up with content, or are you experiencing writer's block where you can't think of what to write, or you sit in front of your computer and you're trying to type out words, but the words just aren't coming? In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Annick Ina, and she will be sharing her tips on how to overcome writer's block. If you would like to know how, please stay tuned.
Hey, yeah, hey, I like to keep my dates affordable, hey, yeah, hey, that's why I got on Forbes' article, hey, you like to hate, but you can't walk a mile inside my shoes, I'm schooling all these rappers, but...
Okay, hi Annick, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Sarah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. As a book doula, you help authors with the stages of publishing or creating their own book. And from what I know, the stages is a lot. So there's writing, editing, cover design, what else? Formatting, PR. That's a long list. From your experience of coaching and with your clients, what is the toughest stage? Or in your opinion, what is the toughest stage?
You'll find it funny, but actually what I always tell my clients, and I always turn out to be right, is that the easiest part of it is the writing. And yeah, you would think the writing is the toughest part because you have to sit down and write and produce the material, the content, but it's actually everything that comes after that is hardest because while writing is an expression of your inner voice, of your soul, of your inspiration, and therefore it is fueled by, I'd say, almost another energy, something that has its own life. The whole process that follows is a process that you actually have to do. It's steps that you have to follow. It's energy that you, the author, have to put in and invest. And so because this process is not fueled as much as the writing process by this inspiration that almost lifts you, and it's like you're flying and the words of writing themselves almost on their own. There's the rest of the project, the rest of the process is more of a logistics nature, and this is why it's very often the hardest part for authors, because it's not part of what comes naturally for them. Because what comes naturally for them as authors obviously is writing.
So the post writing, that means the PR, the marketing, getting the right coverage and media, building hype, putting your book on pre-order, and how to build hype
Yeah,
even before producing the books.
and even that's what I was going to say, even just the production. A lot of people think that writing a book is just writing and then the book is out. But even in the production stage, what I like to tell my clients is that you don't, and I speak for myself, you don't know what you don't know until you're in it. And then you realize how many things you wouldn't even have thought of. And a client of mine, I remember I sent her questions. We were just one step from uploading her book on Amazon, and I sent her a question, and I said, so what is the format you want? What color of page you want? Cream or white? Do you want the cover to be gloss or matte? And she said, I don't know. I've never even thought about these questions. And there are so many little details like that. Do you want your chapter to start at odd pages, or do you want every... So it's all questions that if you haven't published a book before, if you haven't investigated at what the process looks like, might be things that you hear for the first time, and therefore you don't really have an opinion, and therefore you kind of feel lost because you don't know what to choose, what decision to make.
So it's important for them to find the right guidance, probably get a book doula like you to help them out, so so they don't waste time, and all the hard work that they put into writing, the writing could actually reach people, and it could be
Definitely.
brought out to life. So
Definitely. And I know it's not always available for people to hire someone to help them, but there are so many writing groups, so many communities that help authors which are rich with people who have been there before. So I always encourage writers, authors to join these groups and to make sure that they get the support of people who have done this before them.
right. And you did share that probably writing is the easiest process. But if it is the easiest process, then why are people still stumped in content? So that's what we want to talk about today. How can, for our viewers that are watching, if they're writing a book, or if they're not writing a book and probably they're a content creator, so they're writing blogs, or they're managing a YouTube page, that's sort of like what I'm doing right now. What's your advice, or what's your steps to for them to overcome the writer's block?
So, as you said, people who are writing books are also very often content creators, and um, I would say the same process applies both for writing, well, almost the same process applies both for writing a blog post or writing a series of blog posts and writing a book. For me, my personal experience was that writing my book was like writing a series of blog posts. And so if you can write one blog post, you can write a book.
One chapter.
And a lot of, exactly. And a lot of my clients work that way. And that's how I tell them to also see this, because it makes the whole adventure seem less of a big feat that you will never be able to finish, but more of something that, yes, I can write a blog post a week, so yes, I can write a chapter a week, and therefore it makes a big difference in the mindset. But whether it's a blog post or a chapter in your book, it happens very often that you sit down and you don't, inspiration's not there. And what I like to say to my clients is that writing a book or producing content, whatever content that is, a blog post, a social media post, a book chapter, it's all working in co-creation at best with your inspiration. Um, so, well, not at best, at worst. Well, it's co-creation, or sometimes inspiration will take a life of its own and you will just be the instrument through which your inspiration flows. And in fact, I love to use the hashtag the book that wrote itself, because once you get in the flow, you will see that all you need to do is to sit down, set your intention to write, and the words will come. But there will be times where you might want intellectually to write. You might want to write about a specific thing, but then when you sit at your computer or at your desk, words do not come. And I've had that happen to me as well, not only when I was writing my book, but when I write content for my marketing. And there are two reasons for that. So one of the reasons is that if inspiration is not there, you can't do anything. You need inspiration is the fuel that will get your words coming, that will get this writing vehicle running. So sometimes a lot of writers like to write, as I said earlier, writing is the expression of your inner soul, it's the expression of your inner self. So if your inner self doesn't want to express itself regarding a certain thing, it's not what it wants to talk about, there will be some resistance. So the question is, why is this resistance arising? Is it because you just don't want to talk about it today it's just not the right chapter to write. It's just not the right topic to talk about because your inspiration, your inner self wants to talk about something different, then I would say write about that something different. Or sometimes, very often, the resistance is because there are inner blocks that are preventing you from expressing what you have set out to write about. Let me just stop here because I see you choppy. Am I choppy as well?
No, you're not.
Or it? Oh, cool. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that the video is okay. All right. So I had a client once who always laughs because she knows what I'm going to say to her. She sent me a message and she said, "Today's my writing session. I'm supposed to write, but I cannot write anything. There's no words coming." And I said to her, "Well, you know what I'm going to tell you." And she laughed and she said, "Yeah, you're going to tell me to write about it, right?" And I said, "Yes. If you cannot write about a specific topic that you have chosen to write about, then write about your experience of not being able to write. And that's
Wow.
going to, because what that's going to do is it's going to unblock the channel and it's going to maybe shed some light about the reasons why the writing is not coming out. And in fact, this specific client, it turns out that when she started doing some free writing, and that's something that I also tell people in general, is that no writing, no content is ever wasted. So when you're writing a book, do not worry that, oh, so I'm writing about not being able to write, so I'm wasting my writing potential,
Because
I'm
it won't
wasting
go
my
into the
writing
book.
time. Yeah. And I'm like, no, because first, this could be a blog post that you use when you promote your book, when you talk about your experience writing the book. Or it could be actually what gets the words flowing and sheds light about the reason why, the reason or reasons why you are not able to write, so that you can write. So it's all going to help. It's all for a good cause. There's no writing that is ever wasted. And I remember that that client did some writing, some free writing about what she was feeling, about what she was experiencing in her body, in her mind, what could be the possible blockages. And in fact, one of the reasons why she couldn't write was because she was afraid of what people would say about what she was going to share in that chapter.
Oh my God.
So,
That's one of my biggest
yeah,
fear of judgment.
exactly. And when you are writing a book, that is a really, really vulnerable, it's a very challenging experience because you're getting vulnerable and you're putting yourself, your story out for people to judge. Actually, I mean, there will be people who will judge for sure, and there will be people who will actually be grateful that you did take the time to get vulnerable and share your story. And that's one of the things that I tell my clients. You will worry about these people, you will say what will actually, you will say what will people say, and I tell them, don't worry about what people say. Think about things in two ways. There will be these people, so don't worry about what these people say, but worry about those people, the ones that will be grateful and that whose lives will be changed because you took the time, because you got the courage to actually share your story. There will always be people who will judge and who will,
Interpret it
you know,
differently.
exactly. And these are not the people for whom you're writing. So you shouldn't be caring about what they're going to say. Just focus about the reason why you're writing. You're writing for yourself because you need to get it out of your system, because you need to share your story, because sharing your story or sharing your knowledge is part of, well, especially sharing your story is part of your own process. It's part of your transformation, it's part of your healing, it's part of your journey. And your story will be then part of somebody else's healing journey if you're writing a memoir, for example. If you're sharing your expertise, well, it is part of the process of conquering the imposter syndrome, and it will also help someone else get the skills necessary to progress in whatever it is that you're talking about. So if we talk about steps to take, my answer is always write. Write about it. If you can't write, write about not being able to write. And this will always bring insights about yourself, about things. And if not, it will just be a way to unblock your writing channels.
I think it's so interesting to, this is my first time hearing this suggestion, but also earlier when you explained about when they're writing it, the resistance is actually because it's not a topic that they actually want to talk about, which means they're actually not being truthful to themselves, right? So only when they're writing that, then they would discover, like you said, writing about why they are getting blocked. There are so many reasons, and it's not just you're lazy or you're tired. There might be a deeper reason.
Yes, and sometimes it can also be because you actually on that specific day want to tell another story. There is another story that is brewing and that needs to come up. And I'll use my own experience with my content marketing strategy. I've tried so many times to plan what I'm going to write about.
Schedule it.
Make a list of exactly. Make a list of topics and then say I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to write about this topic. That doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work. I need to put at least 10 topics so that then I can choose which one actually inspires me. And most of the time, it just doesn't work. If I will write something, it needs to come from this inner surge of inspiration, this inner desire to share something that comes up. And I can totally see the difference when I do that. And I write something that comes from within and needs to come out. And when I'm just sitting at my desk and trying to write something just because I have to write something, it doesn't touch people as much as my own inspiration when it is asking to come out. So another thing that I would say to people when they are writing their book or when they are writing content, blog posts or social media posts, is always connect with why you are writing this. What is the reason why you want to write this? What is the message that you want people to get from it? Why is your story, why is this thing that you are sharing important? Because it's coming from you and not from somebody else. Because sometimes what we have to say, the stories we have to share are similar to other people's stories, and we feel like, I don't want to be the umpteenth person to write exactly. So I always say there is only one person like you, and sometimes people need to hear things a certain number of times before it clicks and they actually get it. And I'm sure it has happened to you as well. You hear something that you've heard a lot of times, and then one day you hear it and you're like, oh, that's what it is. And so I always say, you might be, when you share your story, when you write your book, when you are struggling to write about that chapter that you actually feel so scared of being judged for, just think about that person who is there sitting and feeling alone, that person who is there and feeling like nobody gets them, that person who's there and who's feeling lost and waiting for something. Your message, your story could be that story, that little thing that will make them go, oh,
It will spark
now I
the
get it.
light bulb moment for
Yes,
them.
exactly. And if it doesn't, I always say it's like things stacking up on each other until they get to the thing that dings. So if your book isn't the last step to the ding, it could actually be one of the steps. And then somebody else will be the one that gets to the din, but you can be one of the steps. So either way, you are contributing. So this is the reason why when you're writing, connect with your why, connect with why you are sharing your story, connect with how you want the people to feel when they have read your post. But most of all, most importantly, connect with how you are feeling, connect with how you felt if you are telling a story from the past. So connect with how you felt then, connect with how you are feeling now about it, connect with feelings. Do not write from your head with this happened and then that happened and so I felt I knew this and that, and it's your people will connect with you when you write from the heart. And even if it is a how to book or chapter that you are writing, connect with why you are writing it, connect with how you want people to feel when they have read it. Let's take an example from tech. A lot of people, when they're starting their business, for example, they are overwhelmed by everything that they need to do, especially tech-wise, setting up a website, setting an email service provider, and all of that stuff. So if you are sharing information about that, just think how you want your people to feel when they read this. How are your people thinking before reading this? They are feeling overwhelmed. How do you want them to feel after they've read this? You want them to feel like they got something from it. They feel confident. So write in a way that will address that. Yes, you get the overwhelm, but here are the steps. 1, 2, 3. Make the steps simple so that they will understand and it will not add to the overwhelm, and make things in a way that at the end of your blog post or your chapter, they feel like, oh my God, I get it. This is not as difficult as I thought it would be, or I feel like I can do it. And it's the same. And I'm talking about blog posts, but all of this is valid also for books. It's valid for anything that you're writing for people to read. It's what do you want? How are they feeling? Connect with how people are feeling and connect with how you want them to feel. But also, I will say, do not focus too much on that, but focus on how you are feeling, focus on what you want to say more than what you think you need to say. You need to find a balance. And I don't know if you've read Big Magic, the book by Liz
Yes,
Berger.
I have the book, yeah.
And she says in it, do not set out to write a book to change people's lives or to help people. That's not going to work. Set out to write your story because you need to write your story. So I feel like, yes, writing your story is important, but also if you want people to, if you're writing for a book to be published as well, not just writing for the sake of writing, I think it's important to write your story, yes, but from a viewpoint of how will people benefit from it.
Yeah. Yes, I read that book and I love that book, and it's true what you said. Basically, it's when you're overthinking things and being too rigid again. Too rigid. Oh, my book has to serve this purpose in life. If it's not a bestseller or if I don't change 10,000 people's lives, then I shouldn't even write this book. And like you mentioned, the first step is it is about yourself and it's about telling your story. So you're just being honest and truthful and just letting that story flow. Because when the book is out, when whatever that you wrote, the blog post or the book, when it's out, it's already out and it has a life of its own, and it will be interpreted in whatever way that other people would interpret it. Just like you said, they would interpret it maybe differently than what you wanted to your message, or but then it's entirely up to everyone, because you don't own it anymore. But then the process, because it's not just about the end process of coming out with the physical book, it's the process of writing the book itself. is what people are into, right? That's why they are writing it, not just to have something at the end of a year or two of the whole process. Is experiencing the journey itself.
Definitely. And there's also one thing that I want to say, that I've been hearing a lot lately, is that, you know, we are off, especially now, we live in this do culture.
Hustle,
And
hustle, hustle culture.
exactly, you've got to produce, you've got to do things, you've got to be productive, you've got to create a result, something that you can see and touch and all of that. And sometimes if you don't want to write, it's okay to skip writing for a day and just go do something that will stimulate or yeah, express your creativity differently. I know I work with my editor Chris, and she often says, if you can't write, just put some music and dance. And I would say, if you can't write, sometimes it's also okay to honor whatever is happening. Maybe turn on your awareness, your self-awareness, to understand and explore what is happening and why you don't want to write. Because writing can also be, especially when you're writing your own story, but even when you're writing a how-to manual, you can bump into a trigger, you can bump into a block where, even if it's about writing websites, you might get to this point where you feel like, who am I to write this? People are going to think I've got a big head and I'm, you know, and it's okay to take the time to soothe yourself before you write with fear, before you write with anything that is not going to help the process and to help you. So sometimes the resistance comes also as a gift for you to stop and look at it. If you're writing your own story, you might have some resistance writing about a story or something that is still painful to you, or that makes emotions resurface again. And I say, honor yourself. Take the time you need to calm your soul, to soothe yourself, to get yourself to a place where you feel strong, where your foundation is strong, for you to be able to walk on it and go further in the process of telling your story, of embracing your story. Because as you said, we all know writing is part of the healing process. There is transformation happening as you're writing. So we've got to honor that as well and not be in the do. We've got to produce chapters, we've got to write words, because that's not what it's only about. And I know from my own experience that sometimes I would write chapters that would make emotions resurface. And on days I would write 4,000 words or 5,000 words. And then the next day I would be completely wiped out because I've written so much the day before, or I've written about stories that have made emotions resurface. So giving myself the time to have a look at what's come up, do something with it, in the sense that if I need healing, well, pause the writing and just take some time to let myself recover from going down, visiting, let's say, some painful stories or some triggering stories, whatever, in whatever way they might be triggering. And it's really about taking the time to honor yourself. So if you feel that your blocks, if you know that your blocks are because you're afraid, well, it's also okay to acknowledge that fear and imagine yourself taking care of yourself as you would a friend. So it's kind of, and I often say that for anything that comes up in your life, imagine yourself being one of the people you love most and taking care of that person. So if your best friend came to you and said to you, I'm so afraid because I've got this thing that I need to do, I'm so afraid I'm shaking and I can't function normally, you wouldn't tell your best friend to just go and do it. You got to do it.
Yeah. Or just get over it.
Yeah, no, you would take time to listen to her or him. You would take time to talk to them and soothe them and cheer them up, or at least help them calm down from the fear and feel confident enough to go do that thing they have to. Or maybe give them permission to not do that thing until they actually feel they are ready to. It's really important to honor yourself and not force yourself.
Isn't it funny how we'd have to think that way, as if we care about people much more than we care about ourselves? Like it's easier to care about other people and being hard on yourself. Like other
Oh,
people,
yes.
if it were your friend or your family, you're like, oh, relax, take care of yourself. But when it's yourself, no rest, just do it. It's so funny.
It is. In fact, I wrote a chapter in my book. It's called Self-Love Barometer. And in that chapter, I talk about how I used to have a cat. And I remember I would always buy the most expensive food for my cat. I would always make sure that he would get everything he needed. But then I found myself sometimes being out and feeling hungry, but then saying, oh, there's food at home. There's no point in spending money out when I can eat at home, or being at the supermarket and looking at the food and choosing the cheapest food just because, why do I need to spend money and buy the expensive one when I can buy the cheapest one? And it's not like I was doing it because I didn't have money. I had the money to pay for the food or to buy food out. It was just this mentality that, yes, we, as you said, we are sometimes often harder on ourselves than we are for others. We will do everything for others, for the ones we love, give them the best, and go out of our way to make them happy. But then when it comes to ourselves,
We're being
we're just like,
frugal.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, Annie, thank you so much for sharing your tips. Before we end, I just want to play a short game called Burning Questions. Before that,
Okay.
for our viewers that are watching, if they want to contact you, where can they contact you?
Well, I'm always hanging out on Facebook, so Annick Ina on Facebook. That's the easiest way to contact me, but I'm also on Instagram, so my handle is still at Annick Ina.
I
My
enjoy watching your
website.
Instagram.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I'd say Facebook. Facebook is definitely where they're gonna find me and where they're gonna get a quicker reply.
All right, so I'll include that in the description.
Thank you.
Let's play a short game called Burning Questions. Do I have my questions here? Yes. So
Okay.
I'm gonna ask a question and you would just answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Okay.
If you had a time machine, would you go back to the past or would you go and look into your future?
Past.
What's in the past that you want to change or you want to relive the moment?
I think I would be better able to appreciate everything that happened in the past now that I'm here now, as opposed to just whining about stuff in the past and being like, oh, I'm not happy and all of that. It's like I life was good. I just wish I could go back in the past and realize that life was good and that I had everything I needed.
What food do you crave most often?
Oh, God, that's a good question. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but green beans.
Pardon?
Green beans?
Green beans? I mean, I like green beans too, but I don't think I ever craved for green beans.
Well, green beans is my comfort food. When I'm stressed out or when I've got a lot going on, I will unfreeze, like take frozen green beans, put them in the microwave with a little bit of sesame oil and a little bit of soy sauce. And this is like the equivalent of some people eating like a pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
For me, it's a bowl of green beans. It soothes me in a way that is actually unbelievable. So I would say crave this. I would crave green beans when I'm feeling stressed, but something that I don't crave it, but that I
It's a comfort food.
will love and will always look for is um it's food that I love, like a child would love it. It's fries, French fries.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love French fries too. I think it's my number one.
They're good. Yeah, I love potatoes in any form, but French fries are definitely the
I think
best.
potato is the best fruit. You cook it in any way, it's nice.
Exactly.
There's a lot of carbs. Okay. What makes you the angriest?
What makes me the angriest? I think, I'm trying to think about the last time I was angry. I don't really get angry.
Wow.
But I cry a lot, so I don't get angry, but I get hurt. So I don't know if that's
I
better.
understand. Your first response is to be sad. Yeah. I think I'm one of those people
Exactly.
too. I get sad first, but then I get angry too.
Yeah, that's true actually. But I think what will get me angry is when I feel like I am not being heard or seen or given enough um, attention or the attention I deserve. And so I guess that will make me hurt, yes, but then I might probably be angry. Probably. I honestly can't remember the last time I was angry.
Okay. It's good that you can't remember. That means you've been happy for quite some time, so that's good. Okay. If you're stranded on an island and you could only bring one book, what book would that be?
Oh my God. If I was stranded on an island, I could only bring one book. I knew I had the answer to that a
I know
while
you have a
ago.
couple of books that are your favorites, but I'm just making it hard for you, so pick one.
One book. Oh gosh. Uh, because I don't reread books a lot. I read them once. I'm trying to think what book. Oh gosh, this is a hard one. I'm trying to think. Well, I would say right now, that's because I bought it and I haven't read it yet. It's the well, I've only read one article, one chapter in it. It's Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. I'm always curious about learning, about discovering, learning new things, learning new hacks, learning how people do their lives. You know, I've always got this kind of curiosity, like this voyeurism almost of how do people do things. And I love that book because it's people sharing their own experience and their own tools and how they do things. And if I had to be stranded on an island right now, I think that's the book I would take because I would be curious to find out about, yeah, Tim Ferriss.
All right, Annick, and that's the end of our interview. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for playing this game with me.
And thank you for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you. And thank you for doing this for everyone who's going to watch this.
I really hope people who watch this would learn and get over their writer's block.
So do I. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for watching, and please share in the comments what are your tips on how to overcome writer's block. Please share so we all can learn from each other. Please enjoy this special performance, and please press like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't. And I'll see you next week. Bye!
Always working hard, I just got it in my jeans. Think so much, I think my brain is burning calories. I'm mostly quiet, but I'm always wildin' when I drink. To you it's fantasies, but to me it's just last week. I don't never stress, none of that shit from yesterday. At 9 I got a date, told her that she could pick the place. Don't tell me we're the same, little bitch, this is night and day. I thought we wasn't Bali, shit feel like holidays. I spend my day with a smile and with my soul intact, but you just spent your day on simping, hoping that she gon' call you back, yeah. Stop answering all the questions when nobody asks. You geeking when you winning, and it shows me you ain't used to that, yeah. My life is starting to look like a completed bucket list. You know you want some trouble if you're gonna I exist. I've been winning and I know that's what you here to see. I feel like I'm
Thank you, Brian. Tastes like ass.
yeah, my schedule's packed. I got a pool I haven't swam in it. Like, yeah, I'm on a date. We watching Parasite, she loving it. Like, hey, yeah, hey, I like to keep my dates affordable. Like, hey, yeah, hey, that's why I got on Forbes' article. Like, hey, you like to hate, but you can't walk a mile inside my shoes. I'm schooling all these rappers, but I never went to school. You say you rolling deep.
Hey Noel, here are hair products that you can't use because you're bald.
But inside I never move.
Hey Guap Dad, here's $10 for the feature. Thanks for being on the song.
I just been gnarly like Molly at parties off any, I'm spinning from sips. Jigga been selling the weed and Molly the mollies that get on my zips. I need to get on the phone when I see it's obvious, it's an eclipse. I'm shining that shade in the phone, they driving that German brace and eclipse. That's the old Mitsubishi, my flow like Rikishi. I flow like a buoy, Mercedes and Beatles. I do as I hold on the beaches, so be on my peepee, will be on my pinky. Yeah, she be sleepy, I be creeping, she be keeping, stripper peeping, money sweeping, I be leaving, back to thieving, yeah.
Always working hard, I just got it in my jeans. Think so much, I think my brain is burning calories. I'm mostly quiet, but I'm always running.
Yo, this nigga got me beat.
But to me, it's just last week. I don't never stress.
Send me out to my boy. Wow, this is a vibe.
This is night and day. I thought we wasn't Bali, should feel like holidays.
Brian, I see everything y'all are doing in this crazy time. I want to help out, I want to pay it forward.
Appreciate what you're doing. Here's my little contribution. Stay safe.
You see what I got? You see what I got? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, money nigga. Save the world, Guap.
Yo, Brian, bro. You outdid yourself this time. I got a piece of Anna gift card, bro. I appreciate it, and you're always doing good things for good people, so do something good with this, bro.
Hey, I'm Joseph Eid. I'm one of the managers here at Love Catering, and we just received a donation from Rich Brian. So with the donation, we're able to donate 125 meals this week to County Hospital, so that's super exciting.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Oh, meeting. Thank you, man.
Oh my God. It's so cool.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Hey NLP, I hope this helps make more masks. Thank you for what you've been doing. Brian. No way. That's it.
Gracias. This is just amazing. It's going to make a meaningful change in a lot of people's lives.
Whoa. Wow.
Rich Brian, que se lo agradezco. Muchísimas gracias de todo corazón. Muy agradecido.
Oh, look what this says. Victor, thank you so much for the fruit.
Oh my God, this helps so much.
I'm gonna put this in my fridge.
The goal is to just help some people out. It's a crazy time in this world, in this country, on this planet. Hopefully we could do some good somewhere.